when it goes.
Go live.
There we are. Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm a social recruiting trainer and speaker. Today, it is tragic. Audra is not here. The poor girl needed some sleep, so she sent in a sub who is currently will not sit down. Oh, you have sat down. Oh my goodness, it's Steve Levy. Really, he doesn't need an introduction, so I'm just going to ignore him for now. More excitingly, did I just say that? Here's my CC. There's nothing further to say. But we have Adrian Dayton here. He's going to talk about social media, recruiters, what you could be doing better, and all sorts of stuff. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I just realized I had your podcast open another window, and so it was like I was hearing everything twice. So hopefully that's better now.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
You know how millennials are with technology.
No, it's Did you hang yourself up?
And I rest my case, don't I?
Let's invite him back on.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fabulous.
I think Gen X are just much better at this stuff.
So when I closed the other window, it also kicked me out. So anyway.
Yeah. Hi, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
Today we're talking about how millennials can't use technology.
Yeah. Well, good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, you're very welcome.
You know, we do have a special social recruiting participation trophy for him, just for that, just so you know. Just
so you show it how it's not done.
I appreciate it because I've come accustomed to that type of treatment really in every aspect of my life. So appreciate it, Steve.
You're very welcome. You know, we aim to please here.
So, because I'm sensing Steve's not going to do this. Tell us a little bit about your background, Adrian, and why I've invited you on, because it all makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I used to be a practicing lawyer. Please don't hold that against me. But I started in 2008, which really is the best possible year to have started practicing law. And economic downturn hit. And at the same time, I started using social media, fell in love with Twitter, started blogging, and actually brought in my first client to my law firm through Twitter. And I went to the marketing department and I said, hey, you know, me and the other associates have no work to do. Why don't you let me teach them how to use social media so we can bring in more business? And she looked at me and she said, look, we've been here for over 100 years, and that's not how we do things here, you know, at our law firm, right?
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah, you heard something like that before? So I said, okay.
Sorry, just ignore the pinky finger thing going on here. Yeah, I know what he's doing.
Yeah, I hear it.
He occasionally forgets I'm not a British. He just thinks I'm British. Right. Yeah.
So a few weeks later, the head of my department comes to my office and shares with me a few words I'll never forget. He says, you're fired. I call my wife and she's crying because we have a baby at home. And I said, honey, don't worry. I've got this idea. I'm going to start a business teaching lawyers how to use Twitter.
So I'm going to be a social entrepreneur. That's what you told her, honey. And I'm going to have CEO.
I can imagine the face. Was she like?
Well, I always say, and she cried harder, but she was very supportive. She kind of knows that whenever I set my mind to something, I kind of go crazy after it. So over the next few months, I wrote the first book on social media for lawyers, and then social exploded, as you all know, and things really took off from there. So after a few years of speaking to thousands and thousands of these lawyers, I launched a software product to make it easier for them to use social media. So it's called Clearview Social. It sends them a simple email where they click a button so they can share content to their social networks, schedule out their week of shares for them. And they loved it. And a couple of the recruiting firms that were helping us find engineers, they said, well, why don't you let us use this? And so we did, and they loved it. And we thought, you know what, maybe there's other recruiters that could benefit from this as well. And so we started asking around who really knows recruiting in the social space. And everybody said Samantha and Steve. So, you know, here we are.
Samantha.
He means me.
Sorry.
Okay.
You know how I said I was going to get his name wrong? Yeah.
that was you back. Sorry about that.
No, truly, don't worry. It was funny because you just sent me this random tweet, and I was like, who the hell is this stalker?
This can only get better. All we have to do is throw him questions, and we have no idea what's going to come out of his mouth.
Absolutely, it could be anything. I must admit, I was quite pleased, quite impressed with it. Which is, you know, I get a bit jaded. I see so much technology all the time, but because of the fact that one person can stack it up, send an entire email out to be it the engineering managers or the recruiters or whoever, and they can just pick and choose what they want to schedule, and it just schedules right from their inbox. That I thought was clever. because we're all too damn busy.
Yeah, well,
So
thanks for that. I mean, I after trying to like bang my head against the wall, trying to get these busy professionals to log in to social media, I realized the problem wasn't that social media was too hard; it's that it was another thing they had to go do. And so, you know, and I have a lot of people. They say, "Well, I'm not sure I can get them to open an email and click a button." And I say to them,
you need to watch that.
Well, especially for lawyers, because then it becomes discoverable evidence in their in their corruption trial.
Well, you say, look, if they can't open an email and click a button for you, they might not be a good fit for your organization, right? So
that's rich coming out of a millennial, though. Do you even know what an email is? Oh my God, Steve, that's just too. That's like, what are you doing?
I am just getting a coffee refill.
All right, where's my Audra when I need her? Come back, we miss you. You don't stand up and move around.
I'm not. I didn't stand up. I just tilted. I just tilted the clamshell.
Yeah, so just be careful where you're tilting that to. So
now,
taking it back a step. I mean, I know certainly I can see like Steve Ward's on the call and a few other people who are aware, but I'd love to hear more about why you think. I mean, lawyers or even recruiters should be sharing stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, especially given we have a situation here in the U.S. If you're some haven't discovered that lawyers and presidents are sharing lots of stuff on social media.
Yeah,
and some of them.
You think they shouldn't?
Some of them probably shouldn't be doing it.
Well,
so how do you get that past that first hurdle? Why would I want to share on social? And what's the benefit for me as a bottom feeding lawyer?
Okay, so why don't we?
Or recruiter.
Yeah,
recruiter.
Let's talk about recruiter.
And just throwing out that none of the people currently tuned in are anything like bottom feeding anything.
Yeah. All right. So I also want to reframe the discussion a little bit because first off, I want to kind of throw out, Donald Trump is not the example, okay? Because we're going to think about social media a different way than he uses it. But also, I want to take your challenge, Steve, of is this even should they be sharing at all? All right. So let's just say none of you are convinced that we should share at all. Okay. So let's kind of start from that place, right?
Actually, can I put in? I'm going to be really rude and read something out. I'm sorry, I'm going to read this out. It was really cool. I forgot until I asked the question, then I remembered I'd taken this screenshot. So David Wilkes on LinkedIn, he's a business development manager. Well, today, inspired by someone else's post, I've done something that was bothering me for some time. Over the years, I'd built up this portfolio of recruiters. Most of them never helped me in my hour of need or even interacted with me. So I took time to scroll through my LinkedIn profile, looked at each individual account, got to know some of the old faces and where their careers taken them, etc. And I deleted all but one recruiter. This person I kept because he posts very useful tips and his stance is no bullshit. Sorry for the swearing, which I like. So have a look him up. Have a look at the link. And it was Alan Walker. And when you go to his Alan Walker, and there's some really cool stuff that he's sharing. Hey, Jim, I am being rude. Sorry, Jim's just popped in.
Love that.
That almost answers it for you.
Yeah, it does. It does. But just to dovetail with that, right? Yeah. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, I wonder if there's some good articles I can read today, right? Nobody jumps onto the computer and says, I want to read articles, right? But everyone has problems to solve. And they have places where they need to improve and get better so they can make more money or so they can do their job better. And if you can be the source for that information, your example's perfect. If you are the source for information that helps people, have more success, they're going to appreciate that. And, I think sometimes as recruiters, as lawyers, as professionals, we underestimate the value of our knowledge to our network. We underestimate how much they will value just things that we think are, I don't know, just relatively straightforward or simple ideas.
I don't think I've lost Steve. I think he's just frozen.
No, I'm trying to protect the bandwidth. So I'm turning off. I'm here. I'm just turning off the video when, I don't need to have the video on.
So I completely hear what you're saying, and I think it's really, really important. And you're right, because we don't know what we need to see, for example, like my blog rant about the latest user agreement from LinkedIn. But how do they stand out? I mean, there's just so much damn noise out there now. There's so much content being thrown at people all the time.
Yeah. So I love this whole issue of there's too much noise. I think that's kind of a red herring. Okay, it's a red herring, and this is why. Think back to 30 years ago. I loved watching TV, and I had 3 choices, right? There was 3 channels I could watch, right? Because I never watched PBS, right? And so, except for maybe when like the nature shows were on. But anyway, you had 3 choices, and so now we have hundreds of choices. So you get to pick, and you get to find thousands, right? And you can watch, if 24 hours a day you want to watch home improvement shows, you can do that, right? Or you can watch, the same like news stories over and over on Fox, right? You can find exactly what you want. And the whole point is, this is not an era of more noise. It's an era where you can find exactly what information you're looking for if you know how to find it. And
do people know how to find it? I mean,
Adrian,
I'm talking to a guy yesterday just about how to find a recruiter on LinkedIn, and bless him, he had no clue.
Wow.
Like, just he didn't even know how to use the search box. And this is a guy who's like, he's got like multiple degrees, cybersecurity specialist, really great guy. He just wasn't aware how to find the information.
Yeah.
So are we making assumptions here?
So right. So that's a good point. There needs to be some education for people to just appreciate how to use these tools. I mean, but one of the biggest points that I make when I teach big groups about Twitter, because they're skeptical. Almost all the groups I talk to don't think there's anything on Twitter for them. So the biggest point I make to them is, there are people that are just like you, talking about exactly what you want to talk about, and you just need to find them. And it's not obvious, right? That's why Twitter has struggled where LinkedIn has taken off, because everyone like understands, oh, LinkedIn, I can link to all my people professionally. That makes sense.
Well,
Twitter,
Adrian, you're creating silos here based on platforms.
3 names in a row.
I know. Yo, Adrian.
Okay,
all right. Put it that way. You're creating silos based on some marketing perception of what each platform is. But I mean, the real issue now is when Katrina and I first got on social media. I mean, I got on LinkedIn in 2004, Facebook probably the same time, Twitter April 2007. There were certainly at the time, distinct personas for each platform. Now, we have there was a post on one of the Facebook groups about the new LinkedIn, which Katrina knows I refer to as KinkedIn. And, we have Twitter being, on some levels, such a good quick communication platform, but at other levels, it is every neurotic, psychotic persona of the planet rolled into 140 characters. The problem now is, when a boomer like myself was growing up, we go to the library, we had a thing called a Dewey Decimal System, a defined structure for identifying and finding information. None of these things are like the library anymore. No. And so the rules, the strategy for searching is about as amorphous as 1 minute of Twitter tweets coming down at any point of the day. Yeah. How then do you just go from this massive top of the funnel to something down that is marginally or substantively useful in a short period of time, to the point where there's some return on investment?
Okay, yeah. So great question. And let me just first by saying that if you're going to take an example like the Dewey Decimal System, I think most Americans understand more about how to search Twitter than how the Dewey Decimal System is set up. But
it's like Dewey's dead. People, anybody who's under the age of 40, you take Dewey Decimal System and it's
right. Well, I guess I should say that's not the shining example of simplicity in search, right? I mean, a Google search, I think, is a pretty good example. But what I tell people is that they can piggyback. Right? Let's say somebody wants to they want to use Twitter more for recruiting. They don't have to do a Google search. They can find the two of you and follow you on Twitter. And all of a sudden, they're getting your decade of experience on Twitter and all of your insights, you basically can stand on the shoulders of giants, right? What is it, Isaac Newton said, right? Like finding these smarter people that are already doing the work, right? You guys know how to find the information, and if you can just find those people, it's like a shortcut. You can get there more quickly.
Well, this isn't like this. This is not scratch and sniff Twitter, social recruiting. It's not as simple as finding folks like Katrina, myself, Jimmy Stroud. I'm looking at some of the folks on the side, and all of a sudden looking at our presentations, which you can find, if you have a tenth of a brain, and it's there's a bit more than that. There's the foundational stuff, which I think needs to be, I think is often left out of platforms and training.
Yeah.
And that is, what do you really want to do with it?
Yeah.
What's the strategy? What's the plan? How do you take attorneys? Well, and again, I'm going to focus on I want to focus on attorneys because they're a special breed. I have a lot of friends of mine who are big time attorneys, and I can tell you they're special breeds and they think a certain way. How do you get them to go from lawyer thinking to social thinking?
I love the question, and I think this is one area where Katrina and I have a lot of experience because we realize these tools are not hard to use, but it's not obvious how to use them, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That it's not obvious, and so both of us have worked over the last 10 years helping people learn how to use free tools because it's not obvious. So I work with some of the most brilliant people I've ever met. And
then you met us.
Speak for yourself.
No, but look, these are high-powered lawyers that are billing $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
But I've had some of these partners that do not know how to copy and paste, right? Where I showed them how to do it, literally showed them on the computer how to do it, and they said, "Oh, that's how you copy and paste." They've just been like dictating to their secretary, what to move around on the document in the past. But to answer your question, having a strategy is important. Knowing exactly what you want to accomplish is important, but then you also have to combine that with the right tools. And so, for a long time, I tried to show these lawyers, oh, here's the simple way to accomplish what you're doing, and they weren't really willing to put the work in. I mean, it still does take effort to learn this stuff, but so did the Dewey Decimal System, right?
So I'm going to call you out on this, Adrian. I don't think you've answered this question. And actually, the way Steve Ward has just put this actually almost is, how do lawyers win business on Twitter? Because honestly, they're not going to use it if they don't see the business. So great social
example.
Ambulance chasing.
Here's the example. Social ambulance station that is unethical, that can be disbarred. Okay. Here's a prime example.
Yeah.
Okay. Here in Buffalo, there's a venture capital firm here in town. And one piece of their legal work, they always have this big firm in DC and New York do the work, okay? But a local firm here tweeted out an article about how they're starting to do some of these similar work and have success. Yeah. And that single tweet, when the head of this venture capital firm saw it, he reached out and now basically won this business away from the bigger firm. So the regional firm won the national business because it's just less expensive.
Sorry, you're being mocked in the side channel a little bit. But it's really good.
All right.
But no, it's great because it's like chase after tweets that say, "I hate my spouse." I think they're cheating, not tweeting.
All right.
So you have to understand, this is recruiters on the side. They're all slightly crazy.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Humor going on.
This is still a standard deviation easier than being on the animal recruiting show.
I've had so many clients who've won business and filled roles off Twitter, but it takes, I know that, and they don't necessarily believe that. I think that's what Steve was getting at. So, I think with what Mark Lundgren also said here about, getting the basics right, I always find just, actually filling out your bio and putting a photo on is such a great start to building up followers. And people just get that. They kind of go on there and start sharing stuff, but not, it's like when someone follows you, you've got those seconds to decide if you're following them back. And you get one chance at it. I never go back through all the people who followed me and pick and go, oh, I missed somebody.
And people, they have these moments of decision, and when you're in a moment of decision, you don't realize how much you've been influenced by things you've seen in the last 5 minutes. And so staying visible. So let me just give you one stat. So on LinkedIn, they say that sharing 20 times per month is the ideal number of times to share to LinkedIn. So once each business day. There's no diminishing return from an additional share, right? We're talking about sharing updates, right? Most professionals at most share once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and these are the active ones. And so they're not really getting the visibility that they could, and so they're
how
not getting as
recent
many
is that
opportunities.
stat? Because I think LinkedIn has died a death in the last year, for example. So
well, you know,
to be honest,
do one
share
more
it,
thing.
and I get like 5 people see it. So,
but you know, I want Adrian, one thing. You know, sharing 20. It's ideal. Ideal for what? What is the dependent variable on this one?
So there's a lot of different ways to think about ideals. I think you should share up to the amount of
no.
time.
No. You said LinkedIn says the ideal number. Share 20 times,
so
and that's ideal. What is that?
You're doing animal. You're being animal.
No, I'm not. I'm not yelling, and I won't curse. But it's important, Adrian. So it's important to understand that is this then to be receive lascivious in-mail requests, connection requests? What is the outcome?
I will very specifically answer your question. Okay, so the data actually is not from LinkedIn. The data is from Buffer.
Yep.
And the way they judge whether or not your share is useful is whether or not there's been a diminishing returns to each additional share. Right. So for every share,
now you have to explain that. It's over my head.
Okay. No, so let's say that every time you share, you get 10 clicks. Okay.
Yeah.
But once you share more than 20 times a month, you start getting a smaller return on each share. Okay. Fewer clicks per share. Okay. So, for example,
we call that social latency.
Nice.
Okay, so you're getting a bit of a ribbing down the side here because we're all LinkedIn skeptics, right?
I love it.
It also says you get 50% response rates on in-malls, which we all know is bullshit. No swear jar for Levy. How is this program being sponsored? The way I fucking swear, we can't give him the swear jar.
You and I don't swear.
But I want to say something. I want to dovetail to what you said about LinkedIn being terrible recently. And I absolutely agree. Most people don't even realize this, that when you share to LinkedIn, if LinkedIn doesn't think your content is good, it won't even show up in people's updates.
Oh yeah.
They only show you the updates they think you will find important now.
LinkedIn gave me a follow button. So people struggle to connect with me and they do not notify anybody when I post. In fact, pretty well nobody gets a notification sent out when they write a blog on the actual platform.
Yeah.
So all of these people are like, how do I connect with you? I'm going, it's under the 3 dots. You meant to freaking know that. But it's ridiculous. So, but the latest, which I just wrote a blog rant on, which I'll be happy to share with everyone. The latest terms and conditions update is ridiculous. So I'm chatting with a job seeker. I want to. Pardon?
I shared that one also. You and I just have this like.
It's the CC thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do this with your finger.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that we're different place on the screen to what we think.
Oh, you already.
Anyway, basically, if I want to, so we're talking about you sharing updates and you look fabulous. So you attract a job seeker who wants to hear your content and they send you an invite to connect. They've just breached the terms and conditions because they don't know you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, awesome. You understand LinkedIn's trust in, this is a whole thing, but LinkedIn's trust and safety function.
Well, so all right. Well, so instead of us having this be a fest where we just like trash on,
no,
LinkedIn,
we can trash every platform. Don't worry.
No, I know, but I think what would be more useful to your listeners is to talk to them a little bit about where are the opportunities that I think most professionals aren't taking advantage of social media. Okay. And so
he's a good guest. He controls us.
We processed over 1 million shares through our platform in the last 3 years. And from this data, what we've learned is that LinkedIn is a crap place to share content.
Yeah.
On average, when someone shares an update to LinkedIn, it's going to get between 2 and 3 clicks total.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a small number.
Yep.
But you might think this is pretty boring content. Like, why are people clicking on it? It's like about legal, accounting, business content, right?
Yeah.
But that exact same content When it's shared on Twitter, it gets 6 times the clicks. When it's shared onto people's personal Facebook pages, it gets 7 times the clicks. And so the point is that when people want content, they never go to LinkedIn for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, a couple of things. There was an article published, I believe, 2 years ago about where do salespeople. The trend is for salespeople when they want to contact, for example, customers. The curve. Twitter has surpassed LinkedIn as the place where content and information is shared there. So there's certainly some truth to that. It's borne out in the numbers.
Well, yeah, and anybody that looks at their own numbers will see that that's the case. But I can't tell you how many professionals that they will say LinkedIn is 100% the best place to share updates. That's because that's where all the professionals are. The only problem is that's not where they're looking, right? They're going to LinkedIn to accept connection requests. I talked to some of these lawyers, they've been using LinkedIn for years. I show them the homepage of LinkedIn where you share updates. And they're like, how do you get to that page? Right? Because they only use LinkedIn to accept a connection request, right? LinkedIn desperately wants to become the go-to place for content.
They've lost that. Simply, they've lost.
They're a long way. They're a long way away from that.
I also think most of us signed up to LinkedIn to be on a professional social network, right? We didn't really want to share stuff to our friends network, which I know you suggest, and I agree. My friends network is now completely full of industry people, which is fine. Quite happy with that, but it's diluted. But most of us joined a social network, and we've ended up with a blogging platform, a training platform, and whatever else it is, a recruitment thing, a job board.
Dating.
So, and you're kind of going, well, hang on a minute. It's a bit like me saying, I'm going to pay my hairdresser 50 quid a month and I'll just go in and she'll just do my hair. And then I walk in one day and she goes, no, I don't do hair anymore. I only do pedicures or nails. And you're kind of going, that's what LinkedIn's done for those of us that have been on it a really long time.
Kind of a bait and switch. They're making it less useful for networking and throwing in these other things.
Adrian, so which brings to mind a point, and and again, it's instructive to think about your audience that you use to develop this. Do they see LinkedIn as being a social platform, or do you see LinkedIn being a social platform versus other platforms?
Well, it depends on it. So look, the way I see my experience right now with the internet and with social media, I really only see Facebook and Instagram as highly social networks, where it's about people actually interacting with the people they like and care about the most. I see Twitter as more of a information exchange, right? It's a conduit for all the content to get out there and for you to match up with the information you need. And then LinkedIn, it's like this boring business network, right? So in our statistics, this is interesting. We see after lunch, there's a huge uptick in clicks on Facebook and Twitter, but LinkedIn stays dead until the afternoon. Because people don't come back from lunch and think like, oh, that lunch was great. I'm not ready to go back to work yet, but I'm just going to go hang out on LinkedIn for a bit, right? Like, it just doesn't happen.
I'm going to post my pictures on this is what I ate for lunch.
Right. And so I say to people, look, nobody goes to Facebook because they want to read business content, but they're already on Facebook. And so if you share something that solves their problem, they're going to click on it and read it because it's on their mind.
And what I love about Facebook is where you can save links. So Mark's making a really good point here. The articles are difficult to find, groups are hidden, the news feed is really hard work on LinkedIn. But it's not like that on Facebook. There's so much data going through Facebook. Of course, there are issues seeing stuff, right? But we don't pay for it, so we don't really give a shit. But you can save articles. You can turn on and off notifications in groups. You're in quite a lot of control over what you see in there. So
yeah, and it's interesting.
It's kind of cool in that respect.
How so many people 5 years ago, they quit Facebook. They stopped using it because they didn't like seeing stuff from all their old friends from high school. And I feel like Facebook is dialing in the algorithm to figure out what's the stuff I actually care about.
Yeah.
I enjoy Facebook now more than I think I ever did, and I think that's surprising to most people.
Well, I
like the way you can create the Facebook lists, so I can go and stick all my school friends over on a list, which also allows me to actually go see their stuff because I never see it anymore because I just see industry friends. And then I can just share to my industry friends. Mind you, I'm shocking. I just share them all, but I should just do that.
The irony of what you said is, you have these three companies, amongst others, are cycling and recruiting their data scientists and their algo experts from each other. So it's like a stock picking algorithm. A couple of different firms might have different experts who do different things. Bridgewater Associates, Rentec, BlackRock, they all have very smart people going through the data, creating algorithms, and each comes up with a slightly different thing. Now, all of us know that those companies poach from each other and they cycle them through. And one would think then, with the volume of data that's going through all of them, there are only so many ways to skin to create an algo that works. So I think part of it is it's perception.
But what I don't get is if LinkedIn's hiring the people from Facebook, I was going to swear again, pound in the expletive box. Why is the user base so shit? Like, why is it so bad? If they're hiring people from Facebook and we're all using Facebook,
well, but look, so part of the problem is,
I'm interested because my theory, by the way, is we call it the Facebookization of LinkedIn. Look, there are dirtbags on all platforms, and there's something called regression to the mean. When we first got on LinkedIn, it was a very tight community, very goal-oriented principles, but now and it was a high value on a mean. As more and more people got on the platform, now we have 500 million registered members, for example. The whole
106 million go in once a month for 17 minutes.
Yeah, for 17 minutes. Ada, we have this massive data curve where it's just regressed to the mean, and it's the same thing on every platform. All these platforms.
Something right though.
But I feel like I could have this discussion for hours about the algorithm and who's figuring out, and I think LinkedIn isn't figuring it out because they don't have good data. Even if they have the right scientists, people aren't spending time on LinkedIn reading content. So it's like, I don't know why everyone hates our content.
Data.
Right? Yeah, I'm just saying that Facebook has people spending time reading content there. I mean, the average person, that's how they use it.
Yeah.
The average user of LinkedIn doesn't read content there, and so they don't have enough. But anyway, but we can talk about this another day. I don't think it's particular.
Bring you back more to your subject, because you're getting upset we're going off on topic, but that's what we do. We never say.
I want to make it useful. It's useful.
No, believe me, they're writing comments on the side, so I know they're finding it useful.
I'm trying to follow along somewhat.
Yeah, no, honestly, if they're not writing comments, then we know we're being boring.
Yeah.
So, I have a question for you. So you mentioned that the lawyers should share stuff to their personal friends network.
Yeah.
I get resistance from that. I'm not doing that to my friends, and I kind of get that. But how do you get them to do that then?
Yeah, well, so have you seen the TV show Seinfeld? It was quite big here in the United States. Are you familiar with that? Katrina?
Where the hell do you think she's been living, Adrian?
I was just kidding. I was kidding. So there's a great episode.
What did Baby just say?
Oh,
I was supporting you.
He was supporting you. Like, how could I even pretend that you wouldn't know about that? But the whole point is, there's the great episode where
look, Adrian, Uptown Abbey. Adrian, do you know about that show?
So Jerry invites George's girlfriend to a movie with Elaine.
Yeah.
And he's like, worlds are colliding, right? The famous worlds are colliding episode. I don't remember that one, but everyone has this same fear of worlds colliding, right? They want to keep their business friends separate from their, personal friends. But once you've been doing work for someone with someone for a decade, they become your personal friend, right? Yeah. People that are really good at bringing in business, they're really good also at making friends with the people they do business with. And so whether you like it or not, right, everyone's business friends are leaking into their Facebook friends because they're your proper friends, right? And so look, how do I overcome that resistance? I haven't figured out how yet with most lawyers. Yeah. And honestly, the data I shared with you about clicks, you get 7 times more clicks on Facebook. I don't even share that with the lawyers because they're not ready for that. It like blows their mind, right? They'll shut down. But I think recruiters, from what I've seen, they're probably more open to this idea that their personal networks, they can leverage their personal networks. I mean, I've got a friend that runs, well, my friend that runs the Superior Group, he's a VP there, just a recruiting firm, a national recruiting firm that their head office.
Well, he's a VP.
here in Buffalo. But anyway, but the point is, him and I are Facebook friends. You know, I've met his family. You know, I met his kid. Our kids have played together. And
so you're like
yesterday
dads.
he posted on Facebook, "Hey, I know I don't usually do this, but I've got this short-term position I need to fill tomorrow. Here's what it is."
Yeah.
And in an hour, he got it filled on to his personal Facebook network. Right now, he doesn't share every single listing because he knows he can't use them unless he, you know, only does it occasionally and when he thinks his network.
Hey, look, I don't disagree. Pretty well everyone down the feed and on the call are in my friends' network. Like, we've all diluted. Yeah. But I actually disagree, though. Like, I hear what you're saying, because often it does work like that. And I've got non-recruitment friends who'll share stuff and fill roles and all sorts of stuff going on there. But in general, I still find there's a resistance. I talk about Facebook for recruiting all the time because I just think it's crazy people aren't using it. And there is still a resistance. Like, I'm not adding anyone as a friend. No. I'm not. It's like, oh, seriously. You know, it's where it's actually happening.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I see this resistant as well. I mean, I've spoken to recruiters that work for law firms that don't want to use their personal LinkedIn to help with recruiting. Yeah. So they have a call with me like, what recruiting ideas do I have for them for social media? And I said, well, are you leveraging your personal LinkedIn account? And they're like, well, no, I want to keep that as my personal professional network. And
how about lobotomy? Look, that requires lobotomy as a solution.
I'm finding this all a little hypocritical, though, because I went to find Adrian to add him as a friend, found him and couldn't add him as a friend. And I was like, how am I going to tag him in my post, which is amongst my Facebook recruitment network that I'm not going to see? So I end up having to tag him. So I'm like, it's not the same.
I need to apologize. Once you hit a certain number of Facebook friends, they won't let people add you. So anyway.
Oh, clearly I'm not that important. I've only got like
no. But
how many friends?
It's really just that. It's very.
How many friends have you got?
I don't count. It's not that type of a game, right? But they just sometimes people once we have connections.
I don't count, but I can. I've reached the limit.
I find it terrifying at 800. I'm just like, oh my god, it's like 800 too many. What am I going to do with them all?
Well, I mean, so someone made this comment about an echo chamber in the comments there, right? That Twitter and Facebook are just a huge echo chamber.
And Adrian, I think it Jim Stroud. It was Jim Stroud, and he's saying,
Jim gets loads of return from Twitter.
And all the platforms are echo chambers because that's human nature. It's retweet, there's your echo. Retweet, retweet, like.
But everybody thinks of like the insidiousness of this echo chamber, right? That's such a negative thing that you're just receiving the things that you want to hear. But I guess what these tools are doing is they're trying to find you the information you want to know. They're not trying to change your worldview.
The information
they're trying to share with you the things that don't.
The algorithm. I mean, I spent time doing all this data science shit back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And what they do is that the algorithms just echo. Well, that's what it is.
Actually, can I address both of those just quickly, Steve? Sorry to interrupt you yet again. So Jim is teasing about the echo chamber, but hey, the man is all over Twitter and Facebook and loves them both. And sends me very awesome birthday videos every year. Love him. So increasingly hard to get non-biased info online. I would actually say, and on television, because oh my god. So I've actually stopped watching the news since you guys elected that man in. Because it was so biased here.
No, we didn't. No.
Okay, whatever. Whoever did. But all we saw here was like completely biased to politics and blah, blah, blah. So I think online TV, the works, it's all biased. But Steve makes a very good point. They're only echo chambers if we choose to gravitate solely around the people who are just like us, which we all naturally do, the whole bias thing. Steve, again, it's all a personal choice. We make our own social media experience. And we do. We do.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, we make our own social media experience, and the more we understand it, the more we can do that.
And the more these algorithms become self-fulfilling prophecies, and it just becomes a whirlpool that pulls us down into its vortex.
I think that's where on Twitter that it's so incredibly important that you use Twitter lists and then use something, I can't think what it's called.
Twitter
having a blank.
Well,
and to actually pull a list in, because if I open my Twitter now, I see the same 10 people all the time. And nobody else.
So let's
tweet
go.
Deck and create columns via list.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. I just went blank. We've unfollowed buttons, yes.
This is really the challenge, right? Is that we're trying to push people in industries that are resistant to change to learn new things and think about things in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think the other side of that is we also want recruiters and other professionals, the accountants and lawyers, we want them to be pushing, right, and challenging what their customers already know. I mean, that's the only way you really get attention is by teaching people something they don't know yet, or challenging the assumptions they have about what they know. And so everyone says like, oh, there's so much noise out there, but what I want to do with professionals is I want them to create the order in the noise, and if they do that well, people will find them, and their content will find their way to them. And it's like social media has this great leveling field. It's right where if you have great information and you put it out there, right, people will find it, people will reshare it, and I think it's incredible. When I first started using social media, and after I lost my job, I went to a big conference called the Super Conference in Chicago.
That's
and big. At this conference, there was
that's big.
Yeah,
Super
right,
conference.
right. Terribly named conference. Anyway, the conference had this panel of baby boomers. Really, it was about generational differences, and the baby boomers were just trash talking on millennials. Right? They were saying how they're lazy, they're entitled, they may be tech savvy, but they're incompetent, they're not willing to work hard, right?
And
as they were making these comments, it's so true, right? We're so lame. So I was tweeting these comments out during the session, and I kept getting responses. I mean, people were retweeting and recommenting, right? So it really kind of got crazy. I got home and I wrote a blog post about that, and it was called, Why Partners Don't Understand Millennials. And it may have been a little angst-filled, right? But I talked about how my father grew up on a dairy farm, and he became a surgeon because he didn't want to ever be poor, and so he worked all the time so we'd never be poor again, right? So we had money growing up. But I didn't have my father around, right? So this blog post absolutely went viral.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about my blog post.
My God.
And here I was. I got laid off as a lawyer 4 weeks before, this unemployed lawyer, and now I'm getting quoted in the Wall Street Journal because, what I had to say had a resonance.
Did the firm call you back?
And
did the firm that nuked you call you back?
No.
Fuckers.
And are we still doing bloody generational bollocks? Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Which is the things are in here. The good thing about millennials is they don't generalize.
The firm has tried to completely ignore me.
Oh my God! I just got swear jar for bollocks.
No, that was me.
Yeah. Oh,
that was me. That was both of us.
I'm like, bollocks isn't a swear word. Bugger off. Right.
Now, bugger off. That you might argue that.
No, that's not one either.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, anyway, so the point of the story, and the point I make to anybody on social media, is this concept of serendipity, right? Yeah. That there's these fortunate accidents, these fortunate collisions that can happen to you that never would have happened otherwise. I mean, the reason I'm talking to you guys today is because 8 years ago, the recruiting animal disagreed with something I posted on Twitter. Yeah. And I was like, who is this guy? And he said to me,
we're still trying to figure that out.
We don't
8 years ago, he said to me, I'd have you on my podcast, but you wouldn't like it. The people I bring on.
And then he disappeared. He's gone.
Did he jump on for a second?
Yeah, he was
here. But the whole point is now 8 years later, when I started having recruiting firms buying Clearview Social, I was able to reach back and reach out to him and say, hey, don't know if you remember me from 8 years ago. And he did, and we reconnected, and he introduced me to you lovely people, and here we are. I mean,
and you did. You sent me a Twitter DM, and I did respond to it because it was, it was like yesterday. I had a new client send me a WhatsApp, and because I went, oh, what's that, and started reading it. They went, oh, damn, he now knows I've read it, so I had to answer it, like immediately. Whereas there's like another one sitting in my inbox because I know I'm busy and I'll get back to it by the end of the day. And you're kind of going, damn, when they get you in these unusual ways, you've got to answer. But you're right. I agree. And even though Steve and I are giving you shit, and actually everyone down here knows the power of social media, because I'm speaking at a conference, the Evolve conference in Czech Republic, and I'm getting all these people going, oh my God, we love your content. You're amazing, Myra. And I'm like, how do you know that? And they can only know it mostly for Twitter, because I share, that's where most of my blogs go. And you kind of go, so they're there and they are finding it and they are reading it. So you are right. We're giving you shit, but you are right.
So yeah, right. So and I'll share with you one other analogy. I know you guys all buy into this, but the CMO of this major law firm, he always says, you know, business development is like playing in traffic. You need to play in traffic if you want to get hit by a car, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
so
deep.
it's like,
That's really deep.
like, right, but most professionals, right, they just need to know you just gotta be out there for these chance happenings. But anyway, so it sounds like you guys are all on board.
You know, I'm not sure if it's chance. You know, what's that horrible saying? You make your own luck, and part of it is it becomes an extension of your subconscious to many of us.
Yeah.
We'll put things out there on Twitter, not necessarily knowing, not expecting a specific outcome, but just putting it out there in hopes that, knowing that someone will latch onto it and take it, will add color to it, take it to a direction that we might not have thought of, but give life to it. And I think one of the things that
I'm going to disagree with that, because I built my audience quite specifically.
Well, and I think, even if you build it specifically, right, what you can't be in control of is where it's going to go with.
No, I absolutely agree. But where I didn't just start sending stuff out. Like I sent stuff out. It's all about recruitment and social media. And then I went looking for the recruiters and HR to follow and hope they'd follow me back, and off it went. But it was quite, I was thinking about what I was doing. I didn't just start, because it's
let me clarify. Sometimes once we get to, all of us have certain topics that we ruminate over more than others, and professionally we do certain things. Personally, for example, Katrina is pictures of her puppy, me hiking pictures, maybe a tattoo picture here and there. Katrina, so I mean, I'll throw food on your side too. But other than that, we are pushing an agenda in our head. That we use social, will sometimes seed conversations, not exactly knowing where they're going to go, but hoping that they go somewhere. And then those turn into other nucleation points for other things. They all come together, and pretty soon, we're giving talks at conferences on things that are a much higher level. So there's, sometimes you have a plan. You can see something out there. You might not know exactly how to get there, but we use the platforms in distinctively different ways to get there. So I guess my question then is, as you're teaching this, how does a Clearview Social take all the differences and the similarities, all the different platforms, and help somebody create a messaging that turn into some kind of outcomes?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I mean, I think the starting point is looking at people, whatever the professionals, whatever they do, whether they're a recruiter or something else, and look at fundamentally what's made them exceptional, what has really made them successful away from the social media world, and how can they clearly create a narrative around that they can share. And so, someone was talking about creating content's one thing, but how do you create a signal so people will find it? And I think the only answer to that is you've got to create highly tailored content that's going to specifically resonate with the right people. And it used to be, even if you created that, you needed distribution, right? But now the content itself is the signal, right? If you have a great headline and you have great content, that will be the signal. But then when you have some other influencers, maybe like the two of you, that pick it up and share it, pass it along, obviously the signal's a lot louder. That
does help. Where's he going now?
No, I'm back. A call came in from my brother. I want to see what he's
hello, we're like live. People are listening, and
well, it happened. I'm not.
Yeah, your brother can't wait 12 minutes. Like,
not on this one.
That's what a functional family's like. Mine would be like, yeah, they can wait a week.
So Steve Ward made this comment. It's a bit of a numbers game.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with that. It is a bit of a numbers game because, the serendipity effect. You could have one tweet a year and have someone at that exact moment see it and have something amazing happen. But the chances of that are extremely, extremely low. And so you need to get more chances for people to be seen. And so one place where a social media expert could come in and build your whole schedule for you, and they could make sure everything you post to Twitter, you don't just post it once, right? Every article you write should be posted at least 3 times over 3 days. This is something that our software just automates for you. It's just going to triple post to Twitter. It's going to make sure things are going up at the right times of the day, because even though,
and I assume it changes the wordings, and I know I've asked you this before, but for
yeah,
right. You know, you can't post the same thing to Twitter 3 times.
Twitter won't let you send a complete So actually, the second one will say, like, you know, in case you missed it, right, whatever. But the whole point is that people need to be more visible, and, you know, sharing once a week is not more visible, right? And so we've tried to take the best data and recognize that the vast majority of people have no interest in becoming social media experts. They don't want to learn all of that.
Whatever
so they could just
really is.
Right.
I don't know how you can do one. It's like rented ground. It changes every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm very good at teaching you how to use it for recruitment. That doesn't mean I'm an expert on social media. Like, I'll still look at some of the platforms and go, I don't know what this is. You can't understand. They're not asked to understand. So
what our engineers are constantly doing is they're looking at all of the data and changing our scheduling algorithm so it gets smarter the more data we have, and our users don't have to be smart.
Right.
They just have to, well, they have to be kind of smart, right, to like buy the product, but it's going to schedule their whole week, their whole month out for them using the best information. And you know, I train, well, sorry, best information. The best information we have available anyway. But you know, in my years of training professionals, they loved the message, they loved the idea, but they just weren't changing their behavior because they had to do things completely different. So what we've tried to give them is give them kind of an easier entry point to start participating.
Do you then encourage them to go in and look and see the notifications that they're receiving and the comments and the retweets? Because I love the idea of it, like, so much, because it would just
absolutely. I mean, I think of what we're doing, I think of it as like a gateway drug into social media for them, right? Like, if they're to follow our algorithm perfectly and they share the ideal number of times every day and every week, right, it's still not enough. They've got, right, but it's a great start. The next step is for them to get in and start learning from what's happening, learn from their interactions and see what people like and what they don't. You know, for example, when I was looking at the Twitter feed of Steven today, and he
shared,
really
like, almost dangerous thing to do.
Almost every time he shares an article or a podcast, at least over the last couple of days, that's all I looked through. It's highly targeted. He knows what's going to resonate with his audience, and the software doesn't teach you that. You've got to learn that for yourself.
This software teaches it. It's this software.
And when you say that, are you talking about
all the data you need to learn fast?
The actual content itself, or are you talking about the hashtags he uses, or are you talking about the wording he uses around the tweet? Like, what are you talking about when you're saying it's highly targeted?
Well, when I say it's highly targeted, I mean that it's information that he knows will specifically connect with his audience. So I mean, sure, if you know how to add the right hashtags and add the right headline, all of that helps. But more important is just the fact that Steve is sharing it, because he's sharing it. It kind of has his blessing, and people are more likely to click on it.
My blessing, this is your Rabbi Levy blesses something. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, I think that's what I liked about the fact that
if you don't think so, then you're underestimating your own influence.
Go ahead. Your software is still getting the main person, and it's their account is still in control. It's just that somebody else is doing the work for it to land in their inbox, and then they still can choose what updates they share, which I think is the bit that I felt was really important, because I wouldn't want an administrator just stacking up my Twitter. That would freak me out. But actually sending me the ones going, these would be some great ones to share, and I just go click, click, click through. Brilliant. I love that idea.
You know, and there's some tools out there like Sprout Social, and Thomson Reuters has a product that just, you have to give them all of the usernames and passwords for all your employees. And you share everything directly out to their accounts. Now that to me is nonsense, right? I mean, it's counterintuitive, because they're never going to learn. I mean, it's so inauthentic, but they're never going to learn and figure out what Steve's figured out about what his people like and what they hate.
But also, you get that thing where, I mean, Steve knows what I'm talking about when I say this. So ERE or SourceCon will publish a new blog, and I'll go to my Twitter feed, because I'm following all these recruiters, and there'll be a list like this long, just full of the exact same post, because everyone has done exactly that, and it's all just set to go, and they're all sharing at the same time. And that's, I also agree, it's just really inauthentic.
Yeah, so if a lot of people from the same organization want to share the same thing through Clearview Social, our algorithm sees that and we'll actually space it out through the day to make sure they're not. So even though
cool.
even though a computer's scheduling it, it doesn't seem like a computer scheduling
That's really
it.
good.
So hey,
I want to know
Adrian,
why Steve's pulling faces, because it's really gross that you're doing that. Why are you sticking your tongue out? Stop it.
it was in response to something you said.
Oh.
No, so all right. So Marx makes the comment, just so we need more tools.
He doesn't mean you, by the way. He's.
Oh no, I just want to make the comment that what we're trying to do is reduce the number of things and places they need to go. So it's to take more away.
No. I've told Mark about your tool actually, because I think.
That's why we need more tools. Got it. I see.
Right, so we had the grand total of 5 whole minutes left, which is like, well, really, you've got about 3.5. But have you got any final tips that you'd like to share that we didn't give you the opportunity to share because we've been giving you shit the whole time? Yes, we're charging.
No, this has been great. I mean, this has been great. So I guess the final tip I will tell you in the form of a story. Does that sound all right? So all right. So when I lost my job, a couple of months after losing my job as a lawyer and trying to writing my first book on social media and trying to get this thing going, we were running out of money.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, look, I believe in you, but you need to start making some money or get a real job. And I had one good lead, a big firm up in Minneapolis. The only problem was they wouldn't answer my phone calls because they had laid off half their marketing team in the downturn. Yeah. But they were a good fit. And so I booked a flight up to Minneapolis and to kind of with some of my last money. And I left a message for the marketing director and I said, hey, I just happen to be in Minneapolis on Wednesday. Can I have 30 minutes of your time? Yeah. So I flew up there. He gave me the 30 minutes. I presented and he brought me in for a 2-month program that's now been extended into its 8th year. And because they started using social media first before effectively before their competitors, they brought in millions of dollars of business from it. And any advantage you get from social media, I mean, the most powerful advantages will be when you do things well before everybody else is doing them. Everybody's on LinkedIn. Everybody's using very similar tools on LinkedIn. And so you're not going to gain advantage, right? I mean, you have some ideas for ways they could gain advantage, but in general, that's not where it is. But if you can get the recruiters using leveraging their personal Facebook and tools like Twitter, right? They're gonna be differentiated. And so I'm always pushing people to find out where your competitors aren't and use those things better. So,
what I find interesting, Adrian. So you left a message for this person. Is that what you did? This marketing person?
I had sent them an email. Actually, I ended up getting them on the phone before I got on the plane.
So the 2 most important social media tools are still
the phone and
the handshake, or the handshake too.
The handshake.
Yeah, I love phone. I love email, right? And the point I always make to these professionals is the purpose of these tools is not to replace, or the purpose of social media is not to replace this. It's to get you more meetings, more handshakes, more in-person coffee.
True.
Calls,
and these things can make phone calls too. It's magic. Magic. Hello, Katrina. Would you like to have a rendezvous at the next conference? Yes, Adrian, come on over. It's only 5 blocks. Oh, you're taking a taxi? Oh, it took you an hour?
Adrian, I'll explain off air what the hell we're talking about.
If any individuals want to try out Clearview Social, I'll let them use it for free.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
They can send an email to Emma@clearviewsocial.com, EMMA@clearviewsocial.com, and we'll get you set up. And I would love to get your experience on this, right? Yeah. We're getting going in the recruiting space, and we'd love your feedback. But I can go in Monday morning and I can stack up my whole week, schedule everything out by just plugging everything in. And
that sounds really
I'd love to get your feedback.
Emma, since you're listening in, you're going to get an email from me.
Yeah. Now we are like completely out of time, so I'm going to have to sort of shut you guys down. Really, really sorry. Based on they're giving you stick over the time. Is there an app for using the phone? So, Adrian, thank you so much for all of your insight and for allowing us to swear our heads off and give you shit and fill up the swear jar. Yeah. Next week, I had to pull it out because I couldn't remember who was on. Gorgeous Angie Veros is on, and we're going to get real with candidate experience. So it's going to be awesome for next week as well. Okay, and on that note, and Steve, you won't be here because gorgeous Audra will be back with her hair.
But I'll be on the sidebar.
Good. We love you on the sidebar. So thank you again, Adrian. And it was
Thanks,
Emma
guys.
at clearviewsocial.com, wasn't it?
Correct. This was a lot of fun. Thanks,
Adrian,
guys.
Thanks.
let me know you next
Bye,
time in
everyone.
town.
I
Bye,
will
all.
do. Cheers.
Get a cab. Bye. Bye.